Good morning and a very warm welcome once again to everyone here. The topic given to me today is innovation at Podar. And I would like to take you through a journey of what innovation means at our organization and how we tackle this. As Beer ma'am had mentioned, we have an eclectic group of people here. I know a few of us from the management side, of course a few school leaders, support organizations, and think tanks. So what I'm trying to showcase today is a journey from the macro, from the management point of view, all the way down to the teacher level, just to give you an opportunity to take back what is relevant to your schools, to your organizations, and so forth. Um, Innovation at Podar, it's a large topic. Last year, as Akanksha mentioned, we spoke about scale and how at Podar we look to take innovation at scale across our schools, across our students and staff members. Today, we're going to look at it slightly differently. We'll start with how we tackle the goals of innovation. Today, innovation is done a lot of the times for the sake of innovation. It becomes a module to showcase new projects that schools do, partly for the academic value add and partly in the competitive world in the industry of education that we all work in. At Podar, we hope we refocus innovation purely to the student. The student is the center of any innovation that we experiment with, that we initiate, and that we hope to implement at our schools. Through the student, we try to tackle the learning. And when I say learning, I mean the academic learning, the extracurricular learning, the emotional, the empathy. We try and develop empathy skills that help our students deal in today's world. It's you've all heard the saying that it's EQ today that drives success less than IQ. And empathy is a very important cornerstone in our journey at Podar, and hope that we pass this on to our students. Leadership. Again, a pillar for today along with empathy, but leadership skills start at a very young age. And whether it's through independent thought, through projects, through collaborative work, leadership skills is another focus for us through our innovative practices. And of course, skill acquisition. When I say skills, it again runs the gamut from creative skills to practical skills, analytical skills. But skill acquisition is really what we define and evaluate our projects against. The cornerstones of our innovative programs. For any of the leaders here today who are looking to embark on innovative programs, innovative endeavors at your school, the four things that we at Podar always keep in mind and question ourselves repeatedly through the process is, A, do our programs inspire creativity? Creativity at the student level, at the classroom level, at the school level. 2, does it ignite passion? Are we able to pass on the why to the students? Why are they learning what they're learning? Why are they asked to participate in certain events, in activities? Does it light that fire to learn? Does it force analysis? An important aspect of all our programs is also the data, the analysis of what we just did, the iteration to do better the next time. And does it show relevance? Does it connect back to the real world? Do our students leave that classroom, that 35-minute period, knowing how what they did connects back to their daily lives, to their work, to their home environment, to their school environment, to their curricula? But all of these four cornerstones, I feel, are extremely important to have a well-rounded, innovative program at our schools. Some of the highlights in the programs that we run at Podar, which could be coined as innovative, and this is just a snapshot of some of the programs we run over the last academic year. Mrs. Beer and her team have taken the lead on a flipped classroom model. It is something that is spoken about a lot in today's education circles, but practically how we initiated, what are the learnings, what is the value add of it, and how to integrate it into an Indian setup is the challenges that we are facing on this. one-to-one computing, using technology as a tool to enable these innovative programs. So one-to-one computing, Dr. Lula and her team here have done a great job with the tablet and iPad projects where every student now comes to school with an iPad and the entire curriculum is done on a one-to-one learning platform. E-books. I'm proud to say that at Podar we are one of the innovators in this line where we have today almost 100 titles converted to the e-book format. And when we say e-books, it's not a PDF version of the book that we get in class. It actually adds value to the learning and teaching process. Design technology. We have a saying here where we say it's not the computer class, but it's a design class in school. We hope to teach much more than just programming. It's about the design thinking. It's about creating through computers and through software. Blended phonics. Language acquisition, communication skills. A lot of our institutions are outside of the urban area. It's outside of Mumbai, Delhi, Calcutta. We go to tier 2, tier 3 cities where communication skills in today's world is a very important piece of that. Robotics, mobile learning. Again, how best to use those little smartphones that every child has today, whether it's through assessments through your mobiles. We've tried projects, we've tried little collaborative projects that we run in Mumbai on the mobiles, and we actually encourage students to bring their mobiles to school. It's not practical in today's world to ask them to leave this technology at home, come to school, and be disconnected from a daily the use of technology. So we are trying to find ways to how best integrate that technology in the learning process. Project-based learning. Another very important module taken from the IB and the IBDP, and how to integrate collaborative teamwork in the Indian setup and the Indian curriculum. I mean, a lot of our schools run ICSE, CBSE, state boards, and the question is always, how do we integrate these things in our scenario? But we believe there's a great scope for that, and there is opportunity. It's just about finding the right fit and the right connections. And the last one is an integrated learning module that we run this year. Again, this has been inspired by the IPC and the IBDP. It's a module that we're quite proud of. We ran this year for the first time in the last 6 months, and this is a program that I'm going to take you through in more detail to give the teachers in the room a slight idea of how we run an integrated program and how we try to keep the student at the center of any innovation that we run at Podar. What is integrated learning? Integrated learning is nothing but thematic learning at the school level. Some of you know this is done at the IB level with the units of inquiry. It's done at CBSE-I. But how do we take those learnings, take those best practices and move it to a regular CBSE school, K-12 school in an efficient way that does not scare the parents, does not scare the students, but yet brings about that change in learning. The integrated units that we've set up, this runs from grade 2 to grade 5 at our schools. It's an attempt at our end to integrate all the subjects that you see up there into a single theme that runs across 1 month of a school calendar. So through the year, the children are exposed to 4 to 6 themes, depending on the schedule, where all of these subjects are then integrated within a theme. I'll give you an example, and this is actual photographs and data and handouts that we give out at the school level on how we run an integrated unit. The example we've chosen is a grade 2 unit called My Body. So these are 7-year-old students learning My Body for 1 month, and how we try and integrate subjects from math, EVS, art and craft, and global connections, all of those pieces into the My Body theme. We structure it in this format. So every theme over 4 weeks starts with a jumpstart event. This is to engage the student, to introduce them to the topic, what they can expect for the next 4 weeks, and to get the excitement going in the school. We then have a concept quest, again a way to to discuss with the students of what they hope to learn over the next 4 weeks. So it actually starts with an open discussion with students. In the next 4 weeks, what do you want to learn in my body? And based on their feedback, we actually tweak the third part, which is the weekly lessons and plans and activities. Of course, assessment comes back to the analysis part. We do assessments at the start of the program, at a mid-touch point, and at the end of the program. And it ends at a culminating event again, to close that loop and to signify to the students that we have completed a theme and this is what we learned from it. Some images, these are again actual images taken over the last 6 months at the school level. And remember, these are programs run in schools in Charlesgaon, Dhule, in Shimoga. So these are not parents who are exposed to an idea like this, students where English is not the first language, and teachers who have never been exposed to a program such as this through their experience or training. The Jumpstart event on my body was a mini Olympics. This was just getting the students out on the field and engaging in activities that used all parts of their body. So whether it was a blindfold run, a hopping game, games that require them to collaborate in teams, but just a way to get them engaged in my body. The concept quest, a little worksheet given to all of them before a discussion on which parts of their body are they aware of, can they label, can they not, that they have questions against, that they'd like to know through this journey of 4 weeks, so that every student here presents what he knows at the start and what he hopes to know at the end of the program. Week 1, we started off with parts of the body. This was an attempt to engage EVS related topics into the syllabus. So it was drawing of the bodies, it was using different tools of art and craft, as you'll see here. They did little skeleton work of the body. Just different ways to engage them, 7 students here, but the entire group of students are engaged in different activities related to this. Global Connections, this was a great event. I was there at the school for this, and we actually had a little map drawn on the floor, and it was called the Happy Feet Map. And they learned about the dances in Ireland where they dance with their feet, and students had a great time just putting paint on their feet, dancing around. But through this, we actually ended it with a little worksheet, and 7-year-old students could point out where Ireland was on the map, what their national dance was, and using different parts of their body on a map to just showcase that entire skill set that we learned through the first week. The second week, we touched upon internal organs. Again, a great activity where students made little talking organs of their body. So different groups were given the heart, the lung, the kidney, and they learned about each organ and then enacted that for the rest of the school. English. We had essays written on from the point of view of the Inside Out Cafe. So what would your body parts write if they were all at a discussion with one another about their uses and who's more important than the other one? The kids loved this one as well. Yoga, of course, getting them physically involved, showing them that it's not just theoretical work, but yoga being part of the curriculum here, not something that's done after school on Saturdays. Week 3, My Senses. It was a great activity where one of the children came up with this. He's like, can you describe an apple through your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin? And that's what the inspiration behind this was, where every child was asked to just describe different fruit through all their senses. And children came in with fruit from home, shared it with students, and it touched upon not just EVS, creative writing, communication skills. They were asked to present. So activities such as these which really engage the students and have learning along with it. Math. Once the activity was done, all students were asked to collate the data, actually through charts, to present what was the adjectives used the most, the least, Different kind of statistical analysis were done. And again, students led this process, presented it, and actually learned basic Excel skills to try and present it back to the rest of the school. We ended week 4 with bringing it, the My Body topic back at the student level and asking them, how would you take care of yourself now that you know these things? What are germs? How do you prevent this? Students actually went around schools putting up posters about keeping schools hygienic. One school started a recycling drive based on this. Another school had posters put up in all toilets, including staff and class 4 toilets as well, and giving a talk to all support staff on how they expect their school to be kept clean. Math, a topic in the CBSE at this time was reading a clock and how do you tell time. And that was also integrated into this. They were asked to display on the times that they awake, the time that they sleep, the times that they are hungry. So all these things are, again, linked to My Body, but also giving them math skills here. The culminating event, this was a great event. We visited a few schools at this time. The children were made into 2 groups, 3 groups actually. Some were patients, some were germs, and some were doctors here. And each group had to run a mock camp for the rest of the school. So the patients went out and had to tell the other students on what their ailments were, what their symptoms were. Children were asked to guess and link the 2 diseases and the ailments. Germs, of course, giving the biological point of view on why they come about, what their pros and cons are, and how to prevent disease. And doctors doing a mock check for the entire school and just inspiring kids on what is out there and what is possible for them. So we had a little doctors, and where parents were also invited. So parents who made patients, and children actually gave diagnosis for their own parents. So it was a great way to end it. But the surprising part through this was, the fun that the students had, but also the surprise on the face of the parents, right? So we had a lot of feedback and a lot of negative apprehensions from parents when we started this process. And this is just as something to keep in mind for the schools here. But when you embark on any innovative project, not necessarily an academically focused one such as this, whether it's technology, whether it's introducing the new fancy whiteboard or the new software or tablets in your school, there'll always be a group of parents who are apprehensive for valid reasons. It's the school's responsibility to involve all stakeholders at this point. And I would argue that you will not convince 100% of the people 100% of the time. But if given a fair chance, if you involve them through the process, we actually invited parents in every week during this process. Whoever was interested came in, and of course at the culminating event. But we actually had a lot of conversions, a lot of converted parents who now believed in the process. I'm not going to sit here and say 100% were behind us on this. There are still a group of parents who prefer a certain way of learning and teaching. But the good thing to see was we had 100% of the students. And that I can say that 100%. We had 100% of the students behind us. So over time, we will have 100% of the parents. And the initial apprehension is now significantly lowered as we go ahead. And I think that's a learning for any innovative project that you embark on your schools. But this was just a snapshot, a little glimpse of one project of the many that we do. But we particularly chose this one because it has a very clear and focused academic bent to it. So there is no technology, there's no videos, audio, there's nothing that can't be done in each and every one of our schools. But we believe that this was one of the most successful innovative projects we ran. And all it took was 3 or 4 central team members taking the lead on it, going down to these schools, sitting with the staff members and getting one leader in each school who believes in it. And that's where the culture started. We started this with 4 schools. We now have 25 schools who have opted in for a program such as this, with the goal that within the next 12 months, all Pudar schools will be running a program such as this. 4 times a year. Again, we started at once a year, went to twice a year, and now 4 times a year. So just a snapshot. Of course, all of this will be available online. You're free to use any of this. Of course, free to contact anyone at Podar to get more information on our programs. We are happy to share. I just leave you with a final thought on something that drives us, and that's up in our office. It says, imagination is more important than knowledge. For knowledge is limited to all we now know and understand, while imagination embraces the entire world and all there ever will be to know and understand. The funny thing about this is not the quote. I mean, you've heard something of this lines a million times, but this was in 1929 by Albert Einstein. 87 years later, we're still trying to get there. We're still not even close. But all of our attempts is to get there in some way or form. And anything that we can do to help you in this process or vice versa. We are a learning organization. We would love to learn from everyone here. So my personal email address is up there. Our website is on there. Of course, all of this is me just presenting it. I had nothing to do with any of the development. It is the academic team here. They are the right people to push this forward. But of course, if there's anything we can do to help this process, please feel free to drop me a line and we can take this journey forward. So thank you once again. Thank you for sharing this with us, this journey.